Uh, Offensive line, that's something I could talk about all day. And we train ad nauseum, and 95% of what we do is based on the first two steps of our get off. And everything after that is sort of it's sort of a carryover from the first two steps. And you can see Jacoby's balding head right there. I'll say it right there. That's Jacob right there. And he doesn't just do D-line. He works with our O-line as well, and he does a great job. And these aren't hand-picked clips or anything like that. I just pulled this up. This is just a normal practice. This is from last year. Obviously, we're not allowed to be doing this right now. But you can tell the first two steps that we're always working on. First step should be 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches directly at the play side foot of our opponent. So you can see right here, if the best view that we have is from our left guard right here. And that first step, we're going to directly right with our right foot out. That first step should be directly at the play side foot, not an inch outside, not an inch inside. This is where the attention to detail and the minutia comes into play. And I've been coaching this technique for 22 years, and people ask, do you get sick of it? Yeah. Talking about the same thing all the time for 22 years, but you gotta kind of be sick in the head to be a coach, and talking about the same stuff all the time. But you're talking to different kids all the time, and you're trying to figure out how to create that same technique, replicate the same technique from different kids, and it's fun. So you can tell our first step from our left guard, that's Ben Rowe. He's going to Eastern Washington. He's the defensive lineman for us. It's the direction of it is perfect. He's not coming outside. If he hops outside, then he's losing his hips. We want our hips. The purpose of everything we do, football is common sense and physics. That's all it is. And the first step and our second step, everything we're trying to do is have our hips square to our target. And we talk to our kids all the time. If you were going to try and clean 300 pounds, would your hips be facing somewhere other than the bar? No. Our hips got to be directly at our target. So that's why we want our first step directly to the play side foot. If you jump inside here, then you're going to kind of be walking on a plank, and your feet are going to be too close together. So first step should be directly at the play side foot, which it is. It's a little too big, so he's lunging a little bit. Mm-hmm. We want that second step to split the stance of the defensive lineman. This is a Rogers 5-man sled, and that's a short T-bag. That's the one that we always use to make sure that our pad level gets nice and low. The aiming point is always to split the stance of the defensive lineman. So that should be splitting that bag. And we want that second step, if possible, down before contact. That's very hard to do. It's almost impossible, but that is a goal that we're trying to get to attain. The aiming point is a key thing, though. You can tell his second step does split the stance. Then after that second step hits, we're going to throw our club, but we're always bringing our club through. The club isn't really the main thing that we're looking at. We're looking at the hips. We're trying to create the exact same movement that you would on any Olympic lift, cleans and snatch. And that's why we spend so much time in the weight room. And if you look at all the hips of all of those offensive linemen, it looks like they're cleaning right there. It looks like all of them are finishing through a clean. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And we spend, there's always the idea that you got to spend 10,000 hours in order to perfect anything. We don't get to 10,000 hours. We're not allowed to have that many much time with our kids, but we probably get to 10,000 reps. And this is something that we work on ad nauseum. And you can tell all of our kids have a good understanding what they're doing. It's not perfect. Like I said, our left guard, his first step's too big. I'd like that to be shorter. You can tell our left tackle, the guy that's playing left tackle, his hips are not directly square to his target. We don't like that. So that's a coaching point. I would want his hips directly square to his target. Right guard, that's Wyatt Crespi. And his dad is one of our O&D line coaches. He's off in the corner there. Wyatt's at Wake Forest right now. Great kid, great family. His hips are square. I like that. His second step is not splitting the stance. It's a little bit too far to the left. So because of that, he's going to be off frame a little bit. These are all the coaching points that we work on over and over and over and over and over. Before contact, what we always want to see is I want to be able to eat dinner off your back. That one's pretty close. His is good. His shoulders are above his hips too much. That's Puckett. He's our returning center, and he's going to be, this is from last year's film, he's going to be at practice in a few hours, and I'm going to modify that behavior later today and remind him that his pad level needs to get better. You can tell our right guard, that's good. I can eat dinner off of his back. We want the hips and the shoulders to be pretty close in line before contact, because we want to create a sort of battering ram. Right tackle, Tuholski, his hips are a little lower than his shoulders. So that's something that we'd want to correct. And you can tell we do this as there's another rep, and we do it over and over and over. Here we're just doing left foot out. You can tell from our left guard, we just have the best view of him. His footwork is better on this one. His first step's a little bit shorter, and he almost gets that second step down before contact. His pad level's a little worse on this one. We'll go back to right when he has contact. His pad level's not as good as I'd like. His previous rep was a little better with pad level. His pad level's a little better, and you can tell that his hips are more square than they were on that previous one. Puckett's pad level's a little better, so I know it's possible for him. Crespi, his pad level's still good, but we can tell his hips are off target a little bit. We're losing power. Again, football is just common sense and physics. If you're going to create power on something, your hips need to be square to your target. And when we continue, this is something that we want to see. And this plays out whenever let me get a little tighter view here. Whenever we're
survey 2010, let's go.
2010, yes. Whenever we're actually playing, you can tell I'm pretty sure there's going to be a counter. Yeah, this is our power. So you can tell right on our pull steps, I want our left tackle and left guard, those guys are pulling. I want our hips square to our target. Our target should be directly down this line of scrimmage. And I want our hips square. You can tell, boom, right off that pull step, their hips are square. That's what we want, because that's going to be their targets. These guys are doing back blocks, and because of that, they should be all 45-degree angle coming back this way. And I want their hips to be square, and they are. That's a pretty good job. And because of that, we're getting some good movement. The best technique that we have right here is from our right guard. There's a reason, and he's joining us as a coach this year. Charles Dillon Wynn, one of the best guys that I've ever coached, one of the finest linemen I've ever seen. And he's playing right guard. He's a two-way guy. And the Canadian Football League got canceled this year, so he's going to come help us coach. He's doing a tandem block, but you can tell his hips are square to his target, and he's continuing to run his feet, and then his hips are square to his next target, which is that linebacker. And he does a near-perfect tandem block here because he's going to that backside linebacker, and he gets square to that guy. And because of that, we're able to get some good yards. I'll get to an end zone cam right here. This should do a pretty good job. That goalpost is in our way a little bit, but here we go. This is the exact same play. It's coming the opposite way. You can tell all the hips are square. He's square to his target. He's square to his target, which is going to be going to that offside guy. Our left guard is square to his target. You can see Dillon is pulling down right guard. He's going to be pulling down this line of scrimmage. His hips are directly square to his target, which is that outside linebacker. And if we watch him through this play, his hips are square, boom. And because of that, he's able to flatten that guy. It makes it easy when you're coaching guys like him. But our right tackle does a great job too. His hips are square right when he pulls, and then he squares up to his target. As soon as we get to second-level guys, it's all the exact same coaching points. Get your hips square to your target. Get your hips square to your target over and over and over, whether we're hitting the sled, whether you're hitting a defensive lineman that's lined up directly on top of you. The goal is always to get into a position of power. And you can tell the technique that our right tackle's doing. I'll go back one snap or one clip. The technique that our right tackle's doing is the exact same thing that we were doing on that sled. Now he's doing it, 10 yards further than what he normally did, but he pulls down that line. You can tell he's squaring up to his target. He's bringing his club, hips, and a clean. It's the exact same movement that you would see on a clean. It's the exact same movement that we're trying to replicate over and over and over on that sled. And because of that, he's able to get a great block onto that linebacker as well. And that's something that we spend a lot of time doing. That's 95% of the time that we're doing is working on those first two steps. And our passing game is built off of our play action. So our first two steps, whether it's a run or a pass, are the exact same.
Football is common sense and physics. Freaking love it, dude. We're just cleaning out there.
Everyone talks about that all the time. And make it simple. It's not that complex. Lineman, get your hips square to your target. That's all that we're working on, and get into a position of power. And it simplifies it. And I think sometimes we try and get a little too creative, myself included, and we try and keep it simple. Makes it a little bit easier.
Connecting the dots from the weight room to the football field is something a lot of football coaches don't do well. I think it's because they don't understand how the lift might correlate. And I think when are we playing football on our backs, bench press? I remember hearing that back in the day, but it's like to see, like you just showed, this is a power clean.
It's the exact same movement.
like
It's the
this
same
is the same
movement.
as, yeah, which I think is so cool.